This is my testimony, part one of three. I'm breaking this up into three sections because someone may have an interest to just look at part of it, whether they are a Christian struggling with something in life or a non Christian looking for hope. And this first section is just kind of the beginning of my life. I was a high school dropout. I quit school in 1965. I was then drafted in 1966 and went into the Army, Fort Benning, Georgia. And I spent a couple months down there in basic training. I really liked it. I got all pumped up over the Army, gung ho as they would say. And I graduated in the top of my class. So I was promoted from E1 to E2. And they sent me to Fort Dix, New Jersey, to the first MP school in that area. And I really took to that. I graduated in the top 10 from there, and I was put into a special new squad of MPs. There was 12 of us, I believe, and we were kind of the show guys. We had the patent leather gear, the white shoestrings, wore white gloves, patent leather hat, the bells, patent leather, white top. We were spectacles. And we would guard the generals. And 3 times a day we stood on a barrel on the heavy traffic points and directed traffic. And after a couple months, after MP school, I was promoted again. So I was E3 in the first, 4 or 5 months. And about 2 months after that, I got promoted to E4. And it looked like I was going to make sergeant in pretty fast pace. But then someone came to me and said, we're going to New York to get some marijuana. Do you want to chip in on that? I had no idea what it even was. This is back in 1967, I think. So peer pressure got to me, and I went in and got some, and they put it under my pillow. Several hours later, they got back from New York, and I remember going into the restroom in the barracks, and I emptied his cigarettes. I emptied tobacco out and filled it full of marijuana, and I sat in a stall, which wasn't really hiding anything. If you know anything about marijuana, you can smell it half a mile away. Well, I smoked 3 in a row, and I went back into barracks and lay down in my bed, and I remember rolling around. It was like slow motion. And I went to sleep. Well, that was the end of that. But that was the beginning. And after I had a year in, we used to call it short. You had a short amount of time left. I had 1 year to go. And every month up at the headquarters, they had like a lottery or something. I don't remember how they did it, to see who was going to Vietnam. My name never came up. Luck. And after a year, I knew most likely I wasn't going to get called to Vietnam because you had to do, I think, a 12-month tour over there. So, alcohol, pot, and some pills filled my last year in the Army. And I went from E4 down to E1. I got out of the Army just like I went in as an E1. I went AWOL a couple times. They always covered for me because I was an MP. Uh, but the last time I left the NCO club, I was so drunk I couldn't open them. And I remember going down the road. I only had to drive about 10 blocks to get to my barracks. But I distinctly remember this driving, and every time I'd feel a bump, I knew I hit the curb. So I would steer to the right. And I went back and forth like that. And made it to the barracks. And about 4 in the morning, the sergeant on duty got me out of bed. And he says, "Do you know what you did?" I said, "No." He said, "You hit a Jeep and knocked it up on the headquarters lawn." I didn't even know it. Well, that was the last straw. They kicked me out of the MPs. I only had a month left, and they put me driving a deuce and a half truck. And I got out of the Army in 1968, June 68, and entered back into society. And my friends who were in the Army, some of them Vietnam, come back, and there we were in the middle of the late 60s it was, and it was long hair, bell bottoms, and drugs. That was the beginning, and I'll start there on part 2.